You're a new investor
That's me.
in a company.
Okay.
That company has multiple franchises.
Sounds good.
You buy in,
Yeah.
and then the company cuts a franchise out. But they didn't tell you that that was a possible move they were going to do. How would you feel?
I mean, pretty negative. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be positive.
So here is an alleged case, and I say alleged because it's sort of a weird he said, she said right now.
And I mean, you really, at this point in YouTube, you say alleged in front of literally anything you say.
Yeah, allegedly. Allegedly, that's what you do.
You saved my life.
So, Activision cut ties with Bungie and Destiny, which was one of their big, huge franchises up there with Call of Duty. However, newer investors who were coming in right around that time and who had just bought into the company, they say that Activision didn't tell them that they were going to do that. So they built up their stock, and then these people bought in, and then they're like, okay, see ya, Bungie. So that is what is being stated currently.
I'm no legal expert by any case. So forgive me if I'm wrong.
Allegedly, you're not.
Of course, thank you. Is this considered fraud in any capacity? Or is that just, like, not being honest, really?
I don't think it's fraudulent. However, like, if this goes to court, it's very possible that... Well, I mean, the argument would be that the stock didn't have the value... wasn't going to have the value that it did at that point. You know, the point of the buy-in.
Yeah.
And that they knew that and concealed that. It's not really fraudulent, but they would have, like, at the very least, a lawsuit of, like, hey, we want this much money because you lied.
Gotcha.
Is what they're going to be arguing.
Gotcha. Okay.
However, like, I couldn't find an actual response from Activision yet on that regard, but my understanding from Activision was that they were not really prepared for that. Like, it seemed like Activision knew that they were going to cut ties, but I don't really know if they...
But they just didn't communicate it then to the investors?
Yeah, that seems to be what's going on, but since Activision hasn't said much anything about it since doing it, and they left Bungie on amiable terms, you know? Like, it seemed like it was just a mutual thing.
Yeah.
And it didn't seem like investors didn't know about that. So now that they're claiming that they didn't, it's a weird situation. I'm not actually sure if they did or didn't. This is just what the investors who are pursuing legal action now or looking into it are saying. And they're saying that they did not disclose how soon that split would happen or that it would have a negative impact on Activision Blizzard revenue. So Activision stock went down after that split. Just saying.
So, okay. That's just kind of a weird thing, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, that's just weird that would, if that's the case. Obviously, we don't know for sure if Activision hasn't come out and made public statements about it.
No,
like
and that's the problem, is that it's really early in the story when we record this, and it's possible Activision will actually update with a statement before this video even comes out. That's always possible, but as of when this was recorded, they've said nothing about that.
So, I mean, that's interesting, especially from what I've been seeing, too, and reading, is that Activision has been trending, at least in the eye of the general public, towards kind of that EA persona, you know what I mean, where it's a very negative, kind of looked at as almost the evil emperor of the gaming industry a little bit.
Yeah.
And Activision is kind of going in that direction from what I've seen. And so this isn't going to be something where people jump to defend Activision. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be something where they're looking to kind of pile on and hope for the worst. So, I mean, obviously we don't know any details, but or we know some details, but it's alleged.
Yeah.
So, I mean, barring further details, but say it's true, and say that this is something where they lied, bumped up their stock for more, I guess, you know, just for their own general well-being, and then didn't communicate that loss of Bungie, who, I don't know how you can say that that's not going to be a loss of income. I feel like Bungie, they're responsible for the Destiny games, correct? And, and some rather big games. I don't really see how that's not considered a loss of potential revenue.
But it's also a weird thing of, like, since this isn't something like insider trading, that yeah, maybe this lawsuit would go through, but I don't think it would ever become anything criminal, because I don't know of any laws that were broken there. It was more just like these people feel like they were cheated.
So more of a refund is what they're
Yeah, it's more like they're looking for... It seems like they're looking for money.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. That just seems like what they would get out of it if they won a lawsuit against Activision.
Right.
Is a payout, or maybe even a payout in stock. I don't know.
Did they reveal the amount of money that was invested?
No.
Okay. Yeah, so it's weird. We need more details, but at the same time, as getting news like this, you almost, the natural instinct is just to assume that Activision did it.
Yeah, from the general public, because people in the public don't have that good view of Activision as a company. So they already feel like it's a pretty greedy company. It's just, I don't know. It's hard to say. I'm interested to see how this goes going forward, but even if Activision, this went to court, Activision lost, they paid out money, I don't think this would really negatively impact them. Because they have so much money. They're basically, they've got a Xerox copier in their basement.
They do.
And they just put a $100 bill on there and run it every minute. They print the stuff.
Yeah, and to be honest, they'll probably keep this story as low level as possible, because I hadn't heard of this story before you mentioned it.
Yeah, it actually wouldn't serve them to comment on it.
No.
So I don't know if they will or not.
So, maybe they just take care of this in a small, as small as, these big investors
can
get.
A settlement.
Exactly, and that's it. And then they're done with it, and then we don't really hear more about it. But I think it's important to bring things like this to light, because it kind of shows the inner workings of a company like that. And if it's true, it obviously shows them in a negative light, which... I don't know what that does for their stock, because like you said, they're a powerhouse, but...
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, their stock is down, but they make so much money that, the stock matters, but they're going to keep printing money and the stock will bounce back.
It could affect future investments, potentially, from future investors, I guess, because they'll obviously look at that.
If people don't have faith in investing, But it's also something where I feel like they're too big to fail.
Kinda.
So I don't know. It's the same thing Walmart, Walmart could do something absolutely horrendous, and there's certain things with employees, especially at specific Walmart locations, that have been happening for a long time, or have been reported on, employee treatment, lack of health care, bad pay, all this stuff forever, and still what's one of the biggest companies in the world, Walmart. Yeah. You have the same thing with Amazon, where people complain about Amazon's treatment of employees, how they pay, all this stuff. Still, what's huge? Amazon. At the end of the day, do people care enough for it to matter? That's kind of the question. Let's say Activision was the most awful, horrendous company ever. You're still going to have that core demographic of people who just buy every Call of Duty.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Without thinking.
It's the same thing with EA and sports games. A lot of people know EA is not this upstanding, bright beacon in the gaming industry that everyone loves, but they still buy every FIFA, and
they'll still spend $300 in packs every 2 weeks. So that's the thing, is it's kind of unless there's a big kind of, I don't want to say protest, but essentially that's kind of what it is. Just refusing to buy into the product, it's not really going to affect them. And
well, the other problem is they make good products.
They do.
They make some not great ones too, in my opinion, that need more polish, but they also make some really good ones. I think there's a background of Call of Duty 4 on this. Really good game.
Yeah.
Done really well. And the other problem is the way that Activision or EA are positioned. To punish them, you almost have to punish other, creators under them. So, Infinity Ward and Treyarch. I'm not saying they're the best ever either. I'm sure there's stuff that they do. There's stuff Treyarch did with, Black Ops 4 I'm not a fan of. But, if you want to hit Activision, you have to refuse to buy games from, Treyarch and Infinity Ward and Sledgehammer. And they're not necessarily responsible for something like this.
No.
So then it's still a problem of, if this happened and you wanted to retaliate with your wallet, that you're punishing someone who didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah. Kind of a collateral thing.
Yeah, it's kind of when someone feels screwed over at the department store and they go and yell at someone for their manager. That kid who you're yelling at had nothing to do with it. You're really just being a dick.
Right.
I get why you're mad, but you're taking it out on someone who had no impact at all on what happened to you.
Right.
And that's kind of the same problem with these huge publishers, is the companies under them, they're making their stuff, are the ones you have to hit hard, and they're the ones who will probably go out of business first before the Activisions or the EAs, because the publisher will just cut ties with them if they're not doing well. So I don't know. I don't know how you deal with something like this, whether it's true or not. And even assuming that it was, I don't know how you really deal with it as a customer, I guess.
No, not as a customer. And Activision, I'm sure they'll keep it pretty low level, and we probably won't really hear of it again. But I don't know. It's an interesting thing to note because, like we said earlier, they have a bad kind of aura about them, and it's interesting to see things kind of pile up. So
yeah, I know, and I wonder if at some point there will be too much piled up on companies like this that it's not ignorable, or if it's kind of like because we're in the age of like everything's fake news and like move on quickly that it just doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know. News cycles every 10 seconds, somebody else, murdered somebody or cheated somebody
or faked being murdered by somebody.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So I don't know. There's always something more horrible.
Yeah.
And it's sad, but I guess it's something where, like, I've made more of an effort. Not that I don't play games from like Activision and EA and like companies like that. There still are ones that I do. But like in the last couple of years, I've tried to make more of an effort to buy smaller games or like more single player experiences from companies that I know are not, whether they're bad or not, I genuinely can tell that they're not awful.
Yeah.
And that they care about what they're making. And I guess if you want to show people like what you believe in, that's kind of where to start, I think. Like, buy the stuff that matters to you. That's really all you can do.
That's it, really. As a customer, yeah, that's it.
But anyway, guys, let us know what you think in the comments down below. I know there's not a lot of love for Activision, especially in the subscriber base, but, do you think this maybe would have happened? Does this seem realistic to you? Does this seem like an exaggeration from investors? Let us know. And we'll see you in the next one. Adios, amigos.